Can you all hear me? Yeah? Okay, so bear with me. This one might get a little bit emotional. So as many of you might know, on February 22nd, 2017, a man named Srinivas Kuchibhotla was shot and killed in a bar in the town of Olathe, Kansas, by a man who yelled, "Get out of my country." I didn't have the privilege of knowing Srinivas personally, but as I read about him in the days following this tragedy, I felt like I'd known him all my life. I saw him in my dad and my uncles and my family friends, all of whom, like Srinivas, immigrated from India to create a better life for themselves in America. So rather than trying to tell you about who Srinivas was, excuse me, I'm just going to read this part directly, but this is an excerpt of a Facebook post that his wife Sunanya posted about a week or so after he passed away. He would have turned 33 on March 9th, and we were planning to fly to New Jersey for his cousin's engagement. He was excited and eagerly waiting for the trip, and we had plans to shop this past weekend for it. Things turned out differently, and I was on my way to India with him in a coffin. We moved here with a lot of dreams. We built our dream home, which he painted, and installed the garage door. Doing any kinds of work on his home gave him immense joy. He loved kids and was an instant favorite of any kid. We were planning to expand our own family and had a doctor's appointment just a few weeks ago. One of the last thoughts he shared with me was Nani, his nickname for me. We need to save money if we end up going for in vitro to conceive. I'm writing this as it sinks into me that this dream is now shattered. I really wish we had a child of our own in whom I could see Srinivas and make him like Srinu. Srinu was the epitome of optimism. That was his motto. I remember asking him why he'd chosen to pursue digital signal processing and electrical engineering for his master's degree, and he said, "I scored less in that subject in the Bachelor's in Technology and wanted to explore why I received a lower score." We can learn from that. That was his optimism, end quote. So that engagement in New Jersey that Sunanya referred to was going to be attended by one of my father's close friends. And the man that she described could just as easily have been my dad. Like Srinivas, my dad was born in Hyderabad, in the state of Andhra Pradesh in India. Like my dad, Srinivas had a master's in electrical engineering. Like my dad, he loved children. Like my dad, he took great pride in having painted his own home, the first home he had ever owned in America. Like my dad, he had great pride in both America and India. And like my dad, he built up everyone around him. My dad is one of my biggest inspirations, which is why this tragedy hit so close to home for me, because I see Srinivas and my dad, and the connection between them is so palpable. So the poem I'd like to share with all of you today is about that connection that I see. But I also hope that it just speaks more broadly to the immigrant experience, and not just the Indian immigrant experience. I think there's a bond that we all really share, in immigrants across all cultures, in the idea of leaving a country that we're so accustomed to with the hope of creating a better life and a better future. So before I read the poem, there's just a few Indian Sanskrit Telugu words that I want to let you know what they mean. So the phrase Om Jai Jagadish Hare is from a Hindu hymn, probably the most popular one, and it just means glory to God, but it's not a religious reference, it's more of a cultural reference. And the phrase, the next one is Mama and Tata, which means grandmother and grandfather in Telugu, which is my native language. And Mehendi is the word for henna. 1 degree of separation for Srinivas. If you had a daughter, you would have weaved jasmine flowers in her hair. You would have imprinted Hindustani soil in her palms. She would have clasped her palms as you taught her, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. You would have taught her that the only way to view the world is on your shoulders. You would have seen the oceans in her eyes as you traversed them. When she told you she could not swim alone, you would have taught her that courage is learned, not earned. You would have taught her that her mama and tata are rivers running through her. She would have imprinted mehendi in her palms. There are years seeping into you, you would have said. When she wanted to shed her pigment, you would have handed her a paintbrush and taught her that people are canvases, but the thickest paint is still a single layer. When she said, "You're too Indian," you would have shown her your shoulders. When she said, "I'm not Indian," you would have shown her her mother. You would have wept with her. As she left you at 18, you would have imprinted your garden's soil in her palms. When she grieved for America, you would have shown her the oceans in her eyes and the rivers in her blood. When she grieved for you, she would have known that the only way to view the world is with strong shoulders. She would have found a paintbrush, because the world is still a canvas. She would have weaved jasmine flowers in her hair for you, and she would have clasped her palms